Hi guys, Andy and Spoken Label back in the house on a Tuesday morning. Yeah, it's a bit early for me today as well, but it's never too late to always chat to a good writer. Now, kudos to our mutual friend Steve Smythe for this, because Steve recommended this lady to me a while ago, actually now. And true to form with Spoken Label, it never happened to me, right? So I'm too disorganised. But we have the amazing Joy Wassell Tims with us today. Now, we were talking, Joy, weren't we? And I first met you, and we both forgot this till this done recently as well, that round about 2013 on the Best of Manchester Poets, and that was going back a while, volume 3. So that's a long time ago. It just shows, doesn't it? Sometimes when you chat to people, you meet them then once, twice, because of the way the circuit is or scene is, you don't see people for years then. So
yes, it's really it's amazing, really. I mean, so it's 10 years ago, isn't it? If it was 2013, 10 years ago, God.
Crazy.
You
may not remember me because I had hair back then. That's probably why.
Yeah, that'll be why. My hair would have been probably a different colour even.
Yeah, that's probably why. So anyway, Joy, obviously, tell us a little bit about yourself first of all, and with your creativity. I know you said you're originally from the Burnage area, not Burnage, but now you live in Stockport, don't you? So tell us about where all your writing came from originally.
Okay. Well, for ages, I lived in Burnage from, 18 months, of which I don't remember anything, but up to nearly 11, I lived in Burnage, near the Acacia School, in fact. Then my dad wanted to go to Stockport, so we moved to Stockport. So in a way, I consider I'm in exile. I've been living in exile for
long-term exile now, isn't it? So
yeah. So I've lived in Stockport for ages, and I suppose I've been writing since my teens, really, on and off, like you do, and. Early on, I got something. I got to know a guy called Harry Chambers who worked at Didsbury College, as it then was, and he put something in. He put a few poems in a book of young people's poetry, and in a magazine he ran that was called Phoenix. And then later on, he went to run a press in Cornwall, but we lost touch, So since then, I've just been sending off poems and had them in quite a lot of magazines and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look, people look on your website, they can see plenty of them. Obviously, we won't go into all of them. We'll be here for a while, certainly. So, but first part I made talk to you about today was you had two poetry pamphlets published last year, didn't you? In February.
Yeah.
By Bedford Falls Publications. And what I'm curious about first of all is what made you want to bring two out at the same time?
I think just the opportunity.
That's fair enough. It's
the opportunity was there.
I'm curious that. They always say you bring one out every, say, whatever. And you rarely see someone bring two out in February last year, so it's interesting.
No, it's true. It's true. I think partly what I was thinking was that one of them had poems that I tend to do or have done at open mics over the years, going back quite a while. So that is the ones in Shout. However, of course, once I got going, there are some in Shout that might have been in this one. So the one in Word Hoards tend to be maybe more, I don't know, quote, literary type things.
Yeah. There is a difference in the two collections on the tone straight away, and all that. I thought they're both really good.
Yes. So I think that's what I was thinking, and so I had the cover for Shout white because it's just about getting out there, getting your voice out there and stuff. And the Word Hoards, a friend of mine did a watercolor on the front and the back. So that's great.
Yeah, they've got really good collections. Like you can see, with obviously what was certainly, like you said, with the Word Hoards. I know this is something else. Be like that one is much more based on like a lot of paintings, and it feels like you've been inspired, and that why. So yeah, there is a difference of it straight away. So we're both collections generated over quite a bit of time then, were they? Or did they come together fairly quickly when you sorted it?
Yeah, I saw it as an opportunity to put some older ones, when I say older, maybe over the last 10 years or something, and some more recent ones, going up to, say, certainly up to 221. What happened a few years ago was I went on, this is one of these daft things that happens in life. Okay, so I went on this poetry course in North Wales.
Oh, yes.
And in a bizarre roundabout way, we ended up getting a small caravan, a cheap small static, I must add, in North Wales as a result of going on this course.
Oh, whoa.
So some of the ones in Word Hoards are about going up a mountain, and it's the mountain near to where the caravan is. So spent many a happy hour up there, and it's brought lots of words, hence the Hoards. The sort of Anglo-Saxon link, really, I guess, with the Hoards.
It is a fantastic collection. Now, I want to ask you, I don't like, when I go into poetry, I don't like often touching on why you wrote certain pieces, but I'd be interested in something. I will ask about techniques and stuff. Certainly, for example, obviously on Word Hoards, I particularly loved Letter to a 17th Century Dutch Sailor. Now, I've seen the painting online on this one, but what I'm interested in is, why did you actually, if people look at the poem, there's line breaks in it to quite interestingly done ways. I'm curious what made you want to structure the poem out like that.
Yes, that's the one in the paintings in the art gallery. Yeah. Now, funny enough, I'm in a writing group in Manchester called Women's Right, and so sometimes we go to the art gallery, and this is how this poem came out, from going to the art gallery. But I mean, I love art anyway. But the line breaks. Well, it's very much, it's somebody speaking, and I think I was just trying to reflect a speaking voice in it. I mean, from Tessel, I did look up a bit of information about the painting, and the Tessel I thought sort of would be like a modern day Tesco, obviously.
Right, yeah. That makes sense, certainly.
Yeah, but that's that's what it was. But also she wrote, it was a letter, so it just seemed important in terms of speech, to do it in that sort of fashion, and not to do it in just the normal sort of straight lines and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it does really make sense in that one straight away. I understand you completely. But it just because when I saw that, that's interesting. I had the same interesting thing about the Hansel poem that follows straight after, oddly enough, as well. Hansel do not go into that cottage, and I loved the way you used the use of the italics and that, because I got the warnings behind that straight away. And I thought that was a really clever piece as well.
Yeah, that was fun. Do you know that came from going to, do you know Goldfrapp?
Oh, yes.
Goldfrapp had she curated an exhibition at the Lowry a few years ago, and so I saw there must have been a very big version of it. I've got a picture of it in a book by Cale Nielsen. After I saw the exhibition, and so I saw this, and I was going to write a totally different poem. It's funny, but then it turned into a slightly feministy. It could have gone in Shout, this one, but
it certainly is one.
Just the actual picture is just. I wanted it to be sort of scary but fun at the same time.
Yeah, it's got
and a bit of an alternative take,
If you knew my wife's pieces, Amanda Moore, it's got that sort of edge behind it. There's an edge of darkness on it, and Amanda's very, very good at putting an edge of darkness in the pieces. Sometimes it's got that sort of hint behind it can make you shiver, I think.
Well, yes, that's sort of, yeah, she was a scary lady, that witch, you know.
Completely. No,
Definitely scary. And
you
as
get
a
rather
kid, I
this
was
could have
terrified of
gone in.
witches.
This could have gone in Eva collection, and it's a great piece of going. I think it'd been Eva straight away. So straight away.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, it could have gone in the other one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
On Shout, obviously, I want to touch on both collections. Obviously, as we talked a little bit about it.
Mm.
One of the pieces that stuck in my mind was, and apart from your pieces, obviously, about there's a lot here going on about history, and like the one that I loved the most was the one about Peterloo, because I've had I've done quite a shouty piece about Peterloo myself that's been in
Right.
colleges now. So tell us about then what made you want to write about Peterloo first of all.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, as I say, I'm a Mancunian in exile, living in Stockport for a long time. You know, I love Manchester. It's my hometown. And, you know, I've got big working class roots, you know. My family, my grandma lived in Hume before it was pulled down. My granddad was out of work in the 30s for years and years. So I have, you know, there's a big identification with the history of Manchester and especially Peterloo. And I think people don't know about it. You know, good old Mike Leigh made the film in, what was it, 2019?
Yeah.
But unless you're Mancunian, you maybe don't know what happened. And I just think it's important to, you know, to write about.
Yeah, it's something that's got to be broadcast.
Historical. Yeah, it's really important.
People who don't know what Peterloo was, obviously that was big massive riots, and interesting enough where it happened was just around the corner from where Manchester Central Library is.
Yes,
that's what really striking about it, because like you go around there nowadays, such a hive of activity, but not that long ago it was just absolute carnage.
Yes, I mean it's incredible what actually happened there. I've read some accounts. I seen stuff. I don't know. It might be in Bury. There's a museum. I think there's a museum in Bury, and I saw some stuff of Patrick Bamford, who was
he wrote Perfume, didn't he?
Yes,
Perfume,
yeah. So I saw stuff there, and that sort of also helped to inspire that poem, because I wanted it to have details of the time. You know, I think it was important to have some accurate details about what went on, especially quotes from the papers, who were very sort of, you know.
Oh God, completely. The papers were that certainly that way at the time. I've seen clips of it.
Yes,
to know that.
sure.
Completely.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, the tone between these two books is very different. And the other piece I want to ask about from Shout is the really quite experimental piece that followed it straight afterwards, actually. England Identity Crisis 2011. Now, I might get you to read this one out in the second half because it's a very short piece anyway. But if people see the piece, it's basically the same stanza told 3 times.
Yes, yeah.
I'm interested to learn what made you want to do it this piece, because it's interesting. I got the point behind it, but I want to see why you did it this way.
Why I did it this way? Do you mean in the 3?
Yeah, in the 3 stanzas, yeah. Because if people are wondering,
originally it was I had it in the 1, but I think it's because you can put an emphasis on all the different parts. You know, you can put the emphasis on the sorry, but essentially the poem's about how we love to this is the English, the British, apologize. It was written in 2011 when there were the riots, and there were riots in Manchester, and the guy I was working with actually couldn't get home from Manchester when it was happening. And obviously it was it was scary.
I always remember
the conditions.
I remember that well, because I was working at the co-op in Central Manchester at that point. I was
right,
and I got diabetes at the day it broke out, because I was laid up for 2 weeks, and I missed all of it. By the time I got back to work a couple of days later, all I'd saw was everything just smashed up around Central Manchester. It was scary times.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, at the time it was very scary, but I mean, it would be the sort of thing that the British would do, that they almost would queue to go on a riot. And it was PlayStation 3. I mean, I could change that. I could, it become PlayStation 6, 7, 8, 9, couldn't it?
Yeah, of course, nowadays, completely so.
Yeah. But yeah, 3, because I think when you're reading it, you can put your intonation on either the PlayStation 3 riots or sorry, or so it was more to play around and have a bit of fun with that,
Yeah, it's definitely a performance piece as well, that one is, because
it is, yeah.
But I think it stands up well on stage as well, on page as well. So I was just curious about that one. So it's an interesting piece. So now I want to ask you next, obviously, to change topics now, because obviously,
sure.
you at the moment you're doing a lot of work over at Burnage Library, aren't you? We've hinted at already. So tell us about then, what made you want to get involved in Burnage Library, first of all, then, and what's been happening with it?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so Burnage Library was threatened with closure 10 years ago, and though I wasn't involved then, as I said previously, I lived in Burnage for more or less the first 10 years of my life, so I have a big affection for the place. So when I found out a year later that it had been saved from closing, because they managed to get funding from different sources and so on, I started to volunteer there, once every 2 weeks. Then, because I've always written, I started to think, well, maybe we could do some open mics here. Steve Smythe came to one of the first ones we had. And as a result of that, around 2019, I started to think, well, maybe we could do a sort of residency, writer in residency thing here. And they were very glad to do that. But then, unfortunately, husband had needed to have major heart surgery. So it was put on hold. But over the last year, I've got going with it again. When I thought of it, I was still doing some open mics. Then COVID happened. He got ill. So they got suspended. But now I run a writing group there on a Monday night, once a month. The open mics are basically every 2 months. That's called Wordsmith. And it's varies. It's either a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but at the moment it's a Wednesday night. The next one is the 26th, I think, of April. And so there's those two. And I also run a reading group, but that's sort of separate. So I'm hoping to sort of develop things. I've been working with a Talk English group. I'm producing some poems with them. And, I hope that through these things, that will feed into the open mic. So we get lots of different input into the open mic events, not just people that I know. Plus obviously anybody else who finds out about it. So on last Saturday, I ran a haiku and drawing workshop. There's an artist guy as well who did the drawing bit. So that was really good. And I hope we'll be able to do more of those. So it's a sort of space where new things are happening. And I want to put Burnage on the map, because I think Burnage is a place that people think, oh, Burnage, And there's a lot happening in Burnage. So
completely, no, brilliant. I've definitely one of those sort of things. I mean, it's sometimes some areas you think there's not a lot going on, but if you look a bit more carefully, there is. And I've heard that about Burnage before. So brilliant. So now, start wrapping up part 1 of this podcast anyway. But have you got any plans you can reveal what you're going to do next to your creativity? Do you have like another collection in mind, maybe even, or?
Well, yes. I mean, I'm working on 2 things at the moment. I'm working on a collection about the Mersey, actually the River Mersey, because where I live, it's quite close to the Mersey in Stockport.
Mm.
And I walk along the river bank there, and I've got together a number of poems, one in the voice of the river, as it were, and the other in you know, the observer by the river. So there's lots of references to well, the river's voice, but also what you get in the Mersey, which is that there's a lot of graffiti, there's a lot of rubbish, there's a lot of tin cans, and there's a lot of birds and wildlife, you know. And so yeah, so that's one. And then the other is, because of the links with North Wales, I'm doing ones about the mountain behind the site where we have a caravan, and the beach there, so that's called Westerly Morpher. It will be when I've finished it. So I'm just getting poems in two things at the same time, you know.
Yeah, yeah, nice. You do like, is I'm always a believer in creativity. Don't just stick to one folder. Why not have 2, 3, whatever folders go into it?
Yeah.
It stops it getting boring for me, definitely, when I do it. I work that way straight away. So
yeah, yes. Yeah.
Now, can people still buy your 2 pamphlets, can they?
Oh yeah, sure.
Where are they best going?
Sorry, where
are they best going to get them?
They're probably best going to, if they log on to Bedford Falls Publications, they will see there's another as they go on to that, there's another name in brackets behind it. But if you just click on that and then go, there's a list of the different authors, you'll come to the 2 of them. And yeah, so you can go there, or you can, if you go on to, you can go onto my website, obviously, and I can sort them out. But you know, I'd have to sort out the postage and package thing, but I'm sure I can negotiate that with whoever.
Yeah, of course. Now, obviously, we better tell people, obviously, also as well, where's your website as well, haven't we? So if people want to find your website.
Yes, it's Joy Wassell Tims, all one word. So JoyWassellTims.co.uk. Yeah, and obviously I've got people can contact me through that. Yeah.
Perfect. Okie dokie, that's been great stuff. Okay. What will they do? We'll wrap up part 1 now, and we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, everyone, in a few minutes time, Joy's going to do a few pieces for us. So we will see you.
Cheers. Thanks, Andy.